Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, a cocktail of flammable liquids has ignited in a Tasmanian distillery, causing serious burns to a worker. A former paramedic treated the man at the scene before medics arrived and airlifted the victim to hospital.
You could barely see the structure under a mask of smoke as flames took hold of the property. The worker inside bore the brunt of the blast. He was making gin when the blaze ignited. These were the early moments of the blaze at Adams Distillery in Perth. Fire crews screamed towards the condemned building.
Thankfully, one of the part owners is a former paramedic, so his skills were exceptional in treating his work colleague.
A firefighter battled the blaze head-on. He too was blackened by the intense smoke as the rescue helicopter retrieved the worker who had burns to half his body.
The most concentrated part of the burns are to his lower legs and then to his hands and a little bit to his face.
Firefighters acted swiftly, taking around 20 minutes to bring the blaze under control. It is of course a horror blow for the distillery, which began production just 5 years ago.
The wind and the fact that it was involving flammable liquids, it was putting up a significant amount of smoke, and so the fire was uncontrolled for a period of time.
The worker was flown to the Royal Hobart Hospital. He's in a serious condition, while damage to the business is estimated to be up to $2 million. WorkSafe is now investigating. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmanian News.
A pedestrian has been treated in hospital after being hit by a car in Hobart CBD this morning. Emergency crews were called to the intersection of Campbell and Bathurst streets around 11 a.m. Police say the male sustained minor injuries and was taken by ambulance to the Royal Hobart Hospital. A Coronial inquest has begun into the death of an Iranian refugee who took his own life in Tasmania. Saeed Hasnalou's story attracted national attention during a month-long hunger strike in Perth after he spent almost 5 years in detention centres around the country. He was in Tasmania for less than a year before he died.
A candlelight vigil outside the Royal Perth Hospital for a refugee on a hunger strike. A desperate measure after spending almost 5 years in detention centres around Australia. Finally, Saeed Hasnalu arrived in Tasmania in 2016, but just 8 months later, he took his own life. Now a coronial inquest will examine his death, the ability of hospital staff to help asylum seekers, and communication between the Commonwealth and his supporting organisations. In his opening statement, Counsel Assisting Cameron Lee told the court Mr Hasnalu arrived in Australia in late 2010. He then spent time in detention centres in 3 different states. In Western Australia, he undertook a hunger strike lasting more than 40 days, after being told his refugee status had once again been rejected. The court heard he had a history of mental illness and told hospital staff he was prepared to die if he wasn't granted community detention. On May 21, he received the approval he was so desperately seeking, moving to Hobart on a bridging visa at the beginning of 2016. Eager to make a fresh start, he began fruit picking, but became disillusioned after work ran out. Mr Hasnalu was admitted to the Royal Hobart Hospital twice during the year and took his life a day after being released on August 27, 2016. The court today heard evidence relating to the police search, which was triggered by his disappearance. Throughout this week, the coroner is also set to hear from hospital staff, the Red Cross and the Commonwealth Government. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
If you need support, there are services available including Lifeline on 13 11 14. A Huonville sawmill ravaged by bushfires 2 years ago has announced it will double timber production from July. The expansion is set to create more than 40 jobs, but has drawn the ire of environmentalists who are continuing calls to end the industry.
In the eyes of the industry and the government, it's a time for timber.
We're excited to announce the establishment of a full second shift at our Southwood site at Huonville.
This is a vote of confidence in the forest industry.
The move doubling the output of the Huonville base of Neville Smith Forest Products.
It means 30 full-time jobs created on the effective 1st of July of this year.
As many as 15 extra positions will also be created at its Mowbray office. It's a return to confidence for a region and a sector rising from the ashes of summer 2019.
There is a strong preference to employ locals. We are talking to the local schools.
The expansion has been fuelled by a growing demand for Tasmanian oak within Australia. Production is expected to double from 40,000 to 80,000 cubic metres each year.
It's the attributes of the Australian native timber that's impossible to replicate.
Attributes the Greens declare are better kept in the ground.
There is nothing sustainable about the native forest industry.
Refusing to die down on a push to end the industry, even after the federal court rejected the argument only days ago.
Peaceful protests will be what we have to do to save native forests.
Please cease your green warfare.
With neither the government or its adversaries backing down, there's questions whether the forest wars of old could soon reignite.
Well, let's hope we're not seeing a return to the forest wars, but you've got the Liberal Party agitating on the one side, the Greens agitating on the other side.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmanian News.
A report into the state government's controversial small business hardship grants has found while overall the program was effective, there were some problems. To explain the details, our reporter Meg Sides joins us now. Good evening, Meg. Now, what does this Auditor-General's report tell us?
Kim, it looked into exactly how the grants program was rolled out, who received them, and what should have been done differently. The government came under fire last year for a lack of transparency around who received the funding and how it was allocated. Thousands of COVID relief grants were handed out, and there was very vocal community concerns over whether the process was fair. This report has found there was no bias around the location of the businesses chosen, and the approach was generally consistent. However, a small number of people received the payments that weren't eligible for, and one group that was disadvantaged was the dental industry, which was incorrectly excluded from the scheme. The report also points to problems with communication with those who missed out. In a statement, the government says it welcomes the assessment, and Kim, it's confirmed State Growth is now in the process of reviewing the applications from dental businesses.
The Community and Public Sector Union has raised concerns about a Telstra plan to axe 31 Tasmanian jobs as part of a mass cull of 8,000 workers nationwide. The union says positions in Burnie, Youngtown, Ulverston and Derwent Park will be affected. It's unclear what types of jobs will be lost. The gateway to some of Mount Wellington's most iconic trails has received a multi-million-dollar upgrade. Fern Tree Park has been given a significant makeover, with Hewen Road refurbished to improve safety for cyclists and mountain bike riders. A children's playground and picnic area also installed in a bid to encourage more people to enjoy nearby Wellington Park.
The facilities were also quite old and we needed to provide an upgrade, but it's been done in a really sensitive way that's still in keeping with the natural feel of the park.
People will enjoy the natural beauty that Hobart has to offer, 5-10 minute drive from the city centre.
The mountain is the third most visited tourist destination in Tasmania. With more young people online than ever before, a new education program is rolling out to ensure children aren't being targeted. The Being Cyber Safe initiative was developed by Tasmania's Legal Aid, aimed at increasing youth knowledge of technology law.
Legal lessons on a rising risk. These Year 9 students taking a masterclass in staying safe online.
Keeping your accounts private and only adding the people that you know.
Someone can easily hack into your account if you don't have it locked, or they can post some mean comments.
Visiting Montrose Bay High School, this is part of Legal Aid's new Being Cyber Safe education program, developed right here in Tasmania during COVID, focusing on 3 key areas: using technology safely, bullying and sexting.
This online learning module seeks to inform them and empower them to understand how to use that technology, how to be safe themselves and how to not hurt anyone else online.
Lawyers behind the initiative will now travel to schools right across the state, sharing their specialist knowledge, saying by the time most young people turn 18, they've been the victim of sexually explicit images sent online.
When I present to schools, it's not uncommon for young people to come up and share their own experience of being harassed or people seeking to make introduction online.
It can really impact your self-esteem and self-worth. It can take over your life. It can stop you from sleeping, stop you from eating, make everything feel big.
This program aiming to ensure no one has to feel that way. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
The Brighton Council has released its vision for the next 30 years, with the area's population expected to double. More than $1 billion will be invested into industrial and commercial developments in the region, while there are also plans for a new high school and the replacement of the Bridgewater Bridge. The vision was influenced by community consultation, with more than 700 people putting their ideas forward last year. Labor has claimed the state government is lagging behind on releasing millions of dollars to battling businesses in the tourism and hospitality sectors. Party leader Rebecca White says close to $14 million given to the state by the federal government last September is yet to be spent.
The government haven't confirmed what they're going to do with that money. At a time when the industry is facing uncertainty with the end of JobKeeper in March.
To think of what's going to happen for this coming winter is very nerve-wracking.
The state government has rejected the claim and says $6 million worth of projects have been lodged with the regulator and will be announced in due course. Well, for the first time, motorsport fans will be able to retrace the iconic Longford racetrack as part of next month's Motorama. The 7-kilometre circuit began in the 1950s and was once the fastest in the Southern Hemisphere.
A lot of it is in private hands these days, and we've managed to get some landowners to give us access.
There will be a street parade returning these cars of the past to their former glory. Organisers say this year's event has been condensed into just one day because of coronavirus uncertainty.
The world stage potentially awaits 4 of Tasmania's most promising local basketballers. Taryn Armstrong, Sire Deans and Rain Smith have been chosen in the national men's squad, the Emus, for the FIBA Under-19 Basketball World Cup, while Lauren Wise has been chosen in the female squad, the Gems. The teams will attend a preliminary camp at the Australian Institute of Sport ahead of the tournaments.
Good evening. Launceston with the states high again. 22 today, Hobart 16, Burnie 19 and Devonport 20. Temperatures down on average again between 2 and 7 degrees. Butler's Gorge our low with -1. King Island and Strawn 21. Smithton, Low Head and Flinders Island 20. Ouse 19. St Helens and Friendly Beaches 18 today and Lyawini 13. Extensive cloud over the east and southeast. Clearer skies over parts of the west and central areas of the state. Cloud with a low over Northern Territory. A frontal band there approaches WA and convective cloud pushed inland from eastern coastal areas and particularly over the northern part of Queensland. Tomorrow the high moves to be centred to our southeast. The low and associated cold front passes south of WA. Plenty of trough lines over the mainland as well. Tomorrow, east to northeasterly winds reaching 25 knots over the northwest, lighter over the east and south, but with that wind direction and the southwesterly swell, it'll make for good surfing conditions at Marrawar. Best around low tide at the left-hand point break at Green Point Beach, I reckon, as long as it doesn't get blown out. Now, Hobart tomorrow, a top of 21 and sunny. Geeveston mostly sunny and 23. 23 the top for Bothwell, looking good. 23 for Launceston, fine and sunny. Devonport, 19 degrees and 23 the top for Cressy. Burnie looking at 19 and mostly sunny, partly cloudy but fine for Strawn, warming up to 23 and 21 the high for Curry on King Island. 19 for St Helens, bit of cloud, Swansea the same. 19 for Orford. Here's the UV, a max of 10 and very high tomorrow. On Thursday, a fine morning, showers extending statewide during the afternoon and evening, winds more northeasterly. Early showers on Friday, winds will shift from the north around to the northwest. And on Saturday, fine statewide, but partly cloudy, maybe a late shower over the east. Partly cloudy in Perth, a warm sunny day in Adelaide, humid and 31 in Melbourne, a light shower over Sydney and 27 in Brisbane. Bit of cloud about, 14 in Hobart, 19 in Launceston, partly cloudy in Devonport and 18 degrees. If that swell keeps up on the west coast, Kim, I might get in the surf myself and find myself a nice little pocket, as long as there are no kooks in the water. I might even bring out my classic old school midget Farrelly single fin.
Reliving your youth and glory days. Love to see that. Thanks very much, Murph. And that is all your news for now. I'll be back later with some updates. Good night.